I have shot over 1 million photos and I've got the chance to work in some of the biggest venues of the world. The last event that we did, we have shot almost 9,000 pictures and I have finished the complete editing process in just under 8 hours and we ended up with 470 pictures. This is exactly how I edit my photos in Lightroom. Okay, so now we are here in Lightroom Classic and I will show you the process of how you can cut from this photo to this in under 1 minute. The base of my workflow is the Lightroom presets. So most of the time the presets don't work at first click, but my presets are built up in a way that you have to just adjust the basic sliders. That way you can achieve the look that you want faster than if you would have to, for example, count down and customize a tone curve every time or customize the color mixer every time. And for the settings that I cannot change here, I have made these correction presets, and I have made these over the years. Let's say you use the signature preset and you adjust the exposure and you find that this picture would work better in black and white, so you click the black and white toggle. But as you can see, this way Lightroom doesn't reset the color grading page, and this way you will still retain these greens in the shadows, and you would have to come down, reset it to 0, reset the midtones to 0 as well, reset the highlights to 0 as well. But if you use the signature preset, increase the exposure, and you now find out that it would look better in black and white, and you use this black and white conversion preset, then it automatically switches it to the monochrome version, and it resets the color grading page. Or for example, this preset has grain. You don't have to scroll down to the effects and manually reset the grain and close the tab and scroll back again. You can just click the grain 0, or if you decide that you want to use more grain, then you can just, or for example, in this case, it is a wide angle lens, it is a 12mm lens. And if you want to show more details in the edges, you can just set the vignette to 0, or you can also do the lens correction and vignette 0, because I don't use the lens corrections on my presets because I like to keep the original vignetting of the lenses, and I like to keep the distortions as well, because you can see now that it straightens the lines, and if we remove it, then it is kind of bowing. And you can find yourself in situations where there is noise in the pictures, and you can just set the noise reduction luminance to 25, which you can also do here down at this panel. But I have found that it's much faster to just click this correction preset. Now I will show you how you can get this picture to the one that I have showed you in just a few clicks. So you click this preset, and if you are shooting lots of events, you will find that lots of the time you can achieve a drastic change with just the white balance sliders. For example, you could achieve a much warmer look if you edit the picture like this. But in this case I have went with the cooler colors in order to create a contrast between the flames and the artists. So that way, as you can see, we have pulled the image from this natural basic look into a more stylized contrasty look, and we can give it some more saturation. We can give the blue some more if we want. And this way we have edited the picture from this raw photo into this really nice stylized picture in under a minute. But of course you don't always have to change the white balance on event photos. For example, if you apply this preset as well, you can just lift up the highlights to create more contrast, and if we crop it, then you will see that we have used the same preset. We have lifted the highlights, decreased the exposure, and cropped this picture, and we have got a picture that we can happily deliver to the clients. You can see that this picture is exposed correctly, and this will not be a silhouette picture like the previous ones, and you can just hover over the presets and see how it would look on the pictures. And most of the times these presets don't work instantly, but as you can see, I have now used the first preset, and if I move over my white balance again to a warmer one, and decrease the exposure, or maybe just decrease some of the highlights, and lift up the exposure a bit and add a bit more contrast, then we have a perfectly exposed and contrasty looking picture. I think we can give it a bit more warmth, and you can see how we transform this one as well, from this to that. And now, for example, let's say you would say that you want to add some grain. You can just click it. If you just look at this image, you can see that it has captured a great moment, but the lighting is a little bit flat, in my opinion, because it is mainly blue, which can also look good if you want to use if you want to work with that. But in my opinion, you can just see that this picture would look much better in black and white. Now this may look a bit dark, but we can just play with the sliders, crop it in, straighten it out, and you can see now that that if we play with the grids and compose it like that, then it is a much different picture than in color. I think it is much more dramatic. I think it delivers more the emotion, the feeling this way. So I think it's a really good thing to always use some black and whites in every album, because it is different sometimes than colored pictures. In cases like this where the image would look really flat with the colors, then you can just lower the settings a little bit from the ambient ones, and you can put on a flash to the camera, and this way you can separate the people with the lighting. And for example, on this picture you can see that the lighting was green at the stage, but I have put up my flash, and this way it is creating more contrast with the colors, and it is separating better the people. Over the time I have found out what I like, and I have made presets to my own liking, and I advise you the same, to try out as much presets as you can, and with time you will discover your style and your liking. You will know that you like this picture more without the faded blacks, because for example, if you lift up the end part of the tone curve, you lift up the blacks and it creates these faded looks, and there are some people who like it and there are some who don't. And if you experiment with these presets, you can just save it with adjustments, and with time you will have your own presets. For example, this cheesy preset, it is a much more desaturated preset, and it is mainly desaturating the greens, but it has a more magenta tone on the skin tones, but I think it is working perfectly on pictures with flash. So now you have seen two of my presets, but this one called Yeti is the first one that I have made, and I have perfected it for over a year. My look has transformed a bit, but I really like this preset because you can use it in almost every scenario, because it is the one that keeps the colors true to life the best. You can see that most of the pictures are correctly exposed from camera as well, and the key is to that I almost every time use aperture priority mode with minimum shutter priority. This means that on your cameras you can set an aperture, let's say f1.4 or f2, and you can set the camera to not go below, say, 1/250th shutter, and it will start rising the ISO as soon as it will go below 1/250th, and that way I can just play with the exposure compensation. And this is why I don't have to adjust that much with the presets, because for example on this one I just have to bring up the exposure a bit, and this would be acceptable to deliver. But if you use the cheesy one, it is almost perfect as well. And almost the only time when I'm not using the aperture priority is when the venues have special effects like flames or cold sparks, because in these cases the special effects are really quick, and most of the cameras cannot adjust the settings as quickly as the flames come out, and you can miss some really great moments. And this is really important because I really like to keep the details in the flames. I like to keep the orange color of the flames. So if you click on the preset, you can see it is too dark, but if we increase the exposure and pull back the highlights, give it some more contrast, and again with 4 or 5 clicks we have an image that is ready to deliver. and has really great detail in the flames. You just have to know which songs have special effects, and I would recommend taking a photo of the set list, marking which kind of special effects are in which songs, and just setting it to your phone background, and that way you can easily and quickly check when and what you should expect. You can see here as well how well these presets are working. You have to do some cropping if you haven't got it perfectly in camera. With just a few clicks you can achieve really good results. You just have to know in which cases and which scenarios which presets to use, and you can learn it with practice, and that's why I will include a link to some pictures that you can download and edit it on your own, and check out which presets would work on that and how you would edit it, and maybe just play with the white balances and see how it is looking good to you. So the key is to edit as much pictures as you can. If you look at this picture, this is also composed in a way that that it is not always in the center, because I think it is much more interesting if you don't always put people only in the middle. Let's say that you shot it like this. It would be in my opinion, a much more boring photo than if you edit and shoot it like this, because that way you lead the people's eye to the performer. And for example, in this case, you can use a radial mask and draw also even more attention. And you can see how big of a difference it makes even just using one radial mask and adjusting the exposure. And I have a gift for you. If you click the first link in the description, you can get this preset for free, or you can get the whole preset pack with my signature preset and correction presets as well. Now moving on to the next photo. This is a picture that I have shot on manual exposure because I was expecting flames, but I have seen that it is a great moment as well without the flames. But as a result of that, it is a much more underexposed than it's supposed to be. So as you can see, I have to lift up the exposure 4 steps, which is unfortunately a lot. And after cropping and correcting the colors, you can see that indeed this would be a really good photo. And because I had to raise the exposure 4 steps, I would do a AI noise reduction, which you can do with this denoise button. I usually use it around 45, but I think you can safely go up to 50. I wouldn't really go over 50 because then you lose too much details. And if you click the enhance button, you will just have to wait until the bar completes. And after it is done, it will create another DNG file, which is another raw file. You can just see the difference if we zoom in. That the second picture also has grain, which we can remove if we want, but it's much more cleaner and much sharper as well. Nowadays I don't use noise reduction on every picture, but if I see that it would be useful, I will do it. Another important thing is that you should always shoot RAW, because if this picture would be a JPEG and not a RAW file, there would be just no way that I could recover it from this exposure. You can see it on this picture as well that it is exposed correctly for the flames. This way it is not that bright, but you can tweak the presets a bit and crop it in. And after a while you can really get the flow of the editing process. And I would also recommend to synchronize the edits after some pictures. I will show you that one as well. In my experience, it is really important to also shoot the daytime activities of the festivals, because for the event organizers, it is really the key to have pictures and content of this stuff as well, to have images that they can next year use for advertising. And if you capture these honest moments, then it is really great for that. And now you can see that it is shot at 10,000 ISO, so we will have to use the AI noise reduction again, which doesn't take that much time. So I would really recommend to not throw away these pictures, because as you can see, we have finished the noise reduction, and the difference is insane, because the first picture is completely noisy, but the second one is perfectly usable. I think you wouldn't even say that it is shot at an ISO this high, but it is different to every camera, so I would advise you to try out the limits of your camera, and once you know and learn it, you can also capture better results and better images. For example, if you have a free festival at your local area, then go out and take some pictures and know how your camera reacts to different lights and different colors, for example, because it is really the key to be great in editing. I have switched now to a different event, and I will show you now how you can synchronize the settings and how I usually do it and how it helps me to be able to deliver the galleries faster. Let's say this time we want to use the signature preset. As you can see, it looks great on this picture, but I'm sure that we will have to do some corrections on the other ones. If you select the pictures here with the Command A shortcut and press Sync Settings, then at first I'm sure that that either all settings or none settings will be checked. So I would advise you to check all boxes, and the ones that I usually don't like to synchronize is the transform, the white balance, because I use it almost every time on auto, and then I will experiment it later with the develop panel. And I don't like to copy the masking. I don't like to synchronize the crop and the remove and the lens blur. And this is how I usually synchronize my photos. So now if you press synchronize, then if you give it some time and just come to the first picture, now you can see that it has already synchronized all the things that we have did to this picture. So now all you have to do is if you press R, you can adjust the crop, and if you press double click or you press the R again, you can just toggle the view modes. And for example, we can do these minimal adjustments and then go to the next picture. On this one we can adjust the crop as well, maybe give it a bit more contrast. On this picture we see that we have now some cold sparks, so now I think that we would need some more dynamic range, so I decrease the highlights, I add some more exposure, I add a bit of contrast. Now I adjust the cropping, and some of you would maybe say that it is good like this, and it is perfectly fine as well, but I would try to experiment a bit more with the white balance, and as you can see, it suits better my style, because I tend to edit these pictures to a warmer look, and I think it matches more the album that I would edit. And now you can see that this one is a bit dark as well because of the flames, so now I would also decrease the highlights and add some exposure, maybe increase the shadows a bit, add a bit of a contrast, and maybe adjust the cropping. And now you can see how I can just go from picture to picture and without having to press again which preset I want to use. So let's say that the client that you edit this for doesn't like the faded blacks, so you just pull down the end of the tone curve and you synchronize the settings like that. This way you create the look on the first picture and then synchronize it to the album, and you can just skip to the next picture every time, adjust it however you like it, adjust the cropping if it's necessary, and just go to the next picture, which you can do faster if you can map it out to your mouse. For example, I have this mouse and I have it mapped out to these two buttons. So if I press this one, it goes a picture forward, and if I press this button, it goes back a picture. So it is how you can basically build up a faster workflow if you learn the program and if you learn how you like to edit the pictures. So if I look at this picture now, I know that I will want to crop it. I know that I have to press R in order to crop it. I know that I will maybe use the white balance to make it a bit warmer. I know that I need a bit more dynamic range, so I pull it back a bit. And this way we are showing more of the people than before. So you can really see how it makes a picture from this to this in just a few clicks. So you can really quickly go through the pictures. Now I increase the exposure and do that. So the more you edit, the more you will know how and what each picture requires for you to be able to finish it. And there are also cases when you will spend more time on pictures. Now it bothers me a bit that these blues and these blues aren't the same, and so I think it would look also great in black and white. So I just click the correction preset, I adjust the cropping, and now we have a perfect picture. Now there is a picture like this. I know that I want to get rid of these grays on the stage. You could always go to Photoshop and remove it there. Try to remove it with the healing tool, but it almost doesn't always work that well. So if it works, for example, right now, then it is perfect. But you just have to remove it part by part and zoom in and really check if it is repeating patterns or if you have left out something. Now it had an easier job because it was a black area. But if, for example, we would have something in the background, you would have to go to Photoshop and edit it there. But now this picture is looking much cleaner and much more minimalistic. And sometimes these smaller details are what makes a picture from an average picture to a really good picture. So from this to that, and as you can see, it didn't really take that much time. So I would also advise you to not be afraid of cropping, because there are many times where I have worked with one of my students who really likes to shoot at a wide angle, and it is really good because you can find symmetrical images really well, but you can easily make the mistake to shoot everything at wide or compose everything to the middle, and I will show you some examples to that, how you can work on it afterwards and how you can find creative crops that can help with this mistake. I have shot this picture with a flash, but if you are using flashes and you are on stage, it has to put out lots of power because the stage lights are really strong. So it can happen that, for example, the flash doesn't recharge in time. So whenever this happens, I would advise you not to immediately delete the pictures, because in this case, as you can see, we can achieve a much different look than this one, because this previous one is the same camera, same lens, but this time the flash did fire, and this is just like 1 or 2 minutes after that. Same stage, even the same song, I think, and you can really see how you can experiment with it and how different pictures you can create on the same location, on the same venue, with the same gear. Now this picture is a perfect example to try to save the skin tones with the white balance, because most of the time when the artists have bluish or purplish lights on their skin, you can perfectly save it, and it looks I think much better than on the before picture. It is much more appropriate to real life. You can just see how quickly we have edited these 15 pictures, and it is also really important to go through all the pictures after the editing process, because if you go through and you see that some of the images don't fit or you have to change something on it, let's say for example this picture, we have missed this one. So if you don't go through the album, then you can leave in mistakes and pictures that maybe you just forget to remove, because in the end it is what makes the difference between someone amateur and someone who is doing it for a living, to just go that extra mile in every category that you can. I will show you now a different few images from Ibiza that I did with a DJ called Regard, and this is not the whole album, but I just want to show you that it is really important, in my opinion, to maximize the time that you have. And if you know that you have, let's say, 50 minutes or 90 minutes to shoot a show, to always go out and not just get stuck on the stage, and do as many pictures as you can from the various angles, because it's really important, in my opinion, to have a diverse album. And as you can see, it is a bit different because it is not a nighttime event as the previous one, so you also have to edit daytime images a bit differently as well. But I will use the same method and synchronize the settings from the first picture, but it will be a bit harder to edit these pictures, because when you shoot events at daytime, you can find that the sunlight is really harsh, and for example in this case it is reflecting from white buildings, so it is really hard to expose the images correctly. So you have to try to be a bit more creative, and maybe you have to do more editing than concerts at nighttime. But as you can see, you can always find a way to shoot an event in a way that it is the most flattering to the venue and to the people. So in this case, I am using a warmer white balance than maybe it would be in real life, because it is around 6 p.m. in there. But you can really communicate how people feel and how you have felt being there, with the color and the temperature and the feel of the images. So if you look at this picture and you look at this one, I think the warmer image just brings you much more into the place, into the venue, and you can feel it better. I think if you look at this picture, for example, you can see the vignetting here, which I don't really like in this case, because I think it is good for this picture. If you notice it right away, I think it isn't good. But now I think it is distracting you, and I think it has a look that we don't really want. So in that case, I would use the lens correction and the vignette preset, and now it is gone right away. So I always like to use some foreground elements, because even if you don't use a lens that has a faster aperture like f2 2.8, this is a picture with f2.8. But if you have shot it, let's say at f4, and this inflated butterfly would be in the foreground, and you would have your subject in the middle ground, and you have the background further, then you can really separate it, and you can essentially make him more the focal point of the image. So even though we did not use any radial masks or extra vignetting, your eye is drawn immediately to him. As you can see here as well, I have incorporated the palm leaves into the foreground. That way it is also delivering the message that we are in a place that is warm. It has a Mediterranean climate, and you can see with the process of the images how we have started in the DJ booth. Then I have shot some close-ups in the DJ booth. I have come out, I have shot some close-ups, and I have walked through the venue. Let's say if you are shooting at a venue like Ushuaia, then it is really important for the DJs as well. For example, this image would be great in a carousel, but they don't necessarily start with this image, because it doesn't tell you where we are. So it is a great detail to have, and you can basically see how I use the preset as a base, and I keep adjusting the basic sliders almost every time. This is the way that I have found to edit faster and efficiently. And as you can see, another thing that is really important, in my opinion, is to always try to have some some wide angle shots, and some close-ups as well, as you can see here, and some detail shots. In this case, I also don't really like the vignetting, so I also correct it on this picture. And this is something that I have thought about, because the DJ booth and the stage is in shade, but some parts of the crowd is in the sun, so it is really hard to not make it look too high dynamic range, so to HDR look like for example your iPhone would, but try to also maintain the details in the buildings and the people. I think the hardest thing in events that are during daytime is exposing correctly and editing the pictures, because you can see that now the artist is in the shade, but the background is almost blown out behind him. So you can also see that it is a picture that would be good, for example, to Instagram, but you can just create a virtual copy of it and maybe do a horizontal version of it as well. So I think you shouldn't be afraid to do even a crop like this one, because maybe they could use this picture, for example, let's say a YouTube thumbnail of a mix or something. You always have to know what your client's needs are, and you have to think and shoot like that. I had the artist in mind, but let's say if I have shot for the venue, I would have shot let's say like 50% of the show of the DJ, and the other 50% I would concentrate on the people, and I would shoot more of the people, how they enjoy the party, because if the client is happy, then they will book you more and more and more. And now I will show you some other pictures as well that are not shot at an event, in order for you to know how the presets work and how the presets affect the images. Because if you say use the cheesy one on this, you can see how it really gives a really contrasty look to the picture, and it really accentuates where the light is coming from, and it really pulls back the colors, and it has an orangey, a magenta look compared to, let's say, this Yeti one. It is a much more saturated one. It is the most true to life preset that I use. But if you use, let's say, this signature one, it is more like a filmic look nowadays. But you can see that the black and white is looking good as well. So I think it is really important not to only shoot events, but to also try to shoot some portraits, some street stuff, because you can really see how to improve your skills. And another important thing maybe to note here is that, let's say your dream is to go on tour with a DJ or an artist or a band. I think it is really important for you to also capture some candid moments and some still stuff for Instagram stories, or for them to just use and have, because I think it is an extra, it is a plus that not everybody can and would do. But if you master this and you like to do this, it is an extra that will help you achieve your goals. So I think it is really an amazing thing to shoot as much as you can and experience, because you don't know what you will learn from it, and how many skills you can just learn that you wouldn't thought that it would be important in any other scenario, but you will find yourself using the experiences that you have collected on a summer day, using it in a concert venues. I think the most important thing that you can learn through just shooting is first how you operate your camera. You have to know it in and out. You have to know where the buttons are. You have to know how it reacts to certain light scenarios. You have to know how it reacts to colors, how much dynamic range it has. So it is really good to do this. And let's say you shoot a lot in sunset, then you will know how it reacts to orangey, reddish colors. You will know how much dynamic range it has. So it is really good and versatile to do these things. And the more and more you shoot and edit, the better you will be in events as well. I've used also some foreground elements. It leads your eyes to the middle part of the image, and you can really see on this picture how much difference these presets have. If you want to have a career in event photography, DM me event on Instagram. And if you want to hear more about one of my students who went from just buying his first camera to becoming a full-time event photographer, watch this video here.